Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about angle relationships and triangles, and you're just going to be learning a few different theorems that talk to you about properties of triangles. The first one's very simple, and one you should probably be really familiar with. Okay, so this theorem says that the three angles of the triangle will always add up to be 180 degrees. So these three always add up to be 180. Okay, so we're just going to jump into our first example here. Okay, and it says, after an accident, the positions of cars are measured by law enforcement to investigate the collision. Use the diagram drawn from the information collected to find the two angles. Okay, so the first one we want to find is XYZ. Okay, so XYZ is going to be this angle right here. Okay, and we know that triangles add up to be 180 degrees, and since we have the angle measures 62 and 40, we can go ahead and find the other one. So if you take 40 plus 62, that of course gives you 102 degrees. And then we want to take 180 and subtract that 102 degrees. And after you go ahead and reduce that and simplify it, you would of course get 78 degrees. Okay, so that would be measure angle XYZ. Now, you want to go ahead and figure out the other one. Okay, you want to find YWZ, which is the guy that I'm outlining in blue here. YWZ. Okay, so since you know the other two angles in that triangle, which would be 78 for the last angle we found, and then you have this 12 up here, well, you can go ahead and add up our angles. So we have 40 degrees for this guy. We have 90 degrees for this total angle up here, and that gives us 130 degrees. Okay, so we know that YWZ must be 50, since 180 minus 130 is 50. So that would be a 50-degree angle. Okay. Alright. Okay, so let's try another one. Okay, we want to use the diagram to find measure angle MJK. Okay, so we're wanting to find MJK. Alright, so the first thing you'll notice is that we see that we have a couple of congruent angles here. Okay, so we got to find what that one is. So if you look at these two, this triangle, you have two of the angles, and since 88 plus 48 is equal to 136, okay, you know you have to take 180 and subtract out 136, and of course get 44 degrees. So you know that this angle right here is 44 degrees, so that also means that this angle is 44 degrees. And so once we've found that, we can go ahead and add up everything. So we have 104 degrees plus 44, and that equals 148. Okay, and 180 minus 148 would give us 32 degrees. So you know that measure angle MJK would be 32 degrees. Okay, so we're just going to keep playing around with these types of problems, knowing that you have to have 180 degrees in a triangle. Okay, so you need to know two other different theorems for triangles. And the first one, it says that the acute angles of a right triangle are complementary. Okay, what does complementary mean? Remember, complementary means add ups to 90 degrees. So if you have a right triangle, you know that your two acute angles are going to add up to 90 degrees. Okay, the other corollary says that the measure of each angle of an equiangular triangle is 60 degrees. So if you have a triangle where all the sides are the same, you know that each angle is going to be 60 degrees. Okay, so all those angles, 3 angles, add up to be 60 degrees. Okay, so let's try a few problems using those two different corollaries that we have found. Alright, so our first problem using one of those two corollaries says one of the acute angles in a right triangle measures 2x. What is the measure of the other acute angle? And remember what we talked about earlier, that the two acute angles need to be complementary to the right angle there. Okay, so we know that measure angle A plus measure angle B would equal 90 degrees. Okay, so we know that one of those angles in the right triangle measures 90 degrees. Okay, so it says one of the acute angles. So we knew that either measure angle A or measure angle B equals 90 degrees. It doesn't matter which. So we'll just go ahead and plug it into measure angle A. So we have 2x plus measure angle B equals 90. Okay, then we can go ahead and just solve for measure angle B. So we would, of course, subtract 2x on both sides and get that measure angle B equals 90 minus 2x. Okay, so this type of problem, you're not going to get an exact answer. It's not exactly concrete. Okay, so you're just going to have to be comfortable with the fact that that would be your final answer. Okay, let's try another one. Okay, this one says the measure of one of the acute angles in a right triangle is 63.7. What is the measure of the other acute angle? So again, you can go ahead and plug those angles in. So we can say that 63.7 plus measure angle B equals 90. And then go ahead and undo addition with subtraction. Oops. .7 on both sides. And get that measure angle B is equal to 26.3 degrees. Okay, so you can do those in your head, or you can go ahead and use your formula. It doesn't really matter. After a while, you'll be able to do them in your head. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is exterior and interior angles of triangles. Okay, so this says the interior is the set of all points inside the figure, and the exterior is the set of all points outside the figure. Okay, so the theorem that we're going to be using is called the exterior angle theorem. Okay, and this theorem states that the measure of an exterior angle of a triangle is equal to the sum of the measures of its remote interior angles. So what it's saying is that the exterior, okay, is equal to the sum of its two remote interior angles. Okay, and the remote interior angles are just the two angles that are furthest away. Okay, so you'll see that one of them on the interior is connected. Okay, we don't want that one. Okay, we just want the two that are the furthest away from that exterior angle. Okay, so these two guys right here. Okay, so this plus this equals your exterior angle. Okay, so let's go ahead and do an example. And on this first one, we want to find measure angle B. So we know that your exterior angle is equal to these two added together. Okay, so let's write an equation. We know that 5x minus 60, our exterior angle, is equal to our two remote interior angles. So 2x plus 3 and 15. Okay, so let's go ahead and combine like terms here. Okay, so that would give us 5x minus 60 is equal to 2x plus 18. And then we have a variables on both sides equation. So let's go ahead and get the variables on the same side. So subtract 2x on both sides. And that would give you 3x minus 60 equals 18. Now we're down to a two-step equation. So you undo subtraction with addition. And get that 3x is equal to 78. Okay, and finally, we can go ahead and solve this out. So we divide each side by 3 and get that x is equal to 26. Okay, but that is not our solution. It asked us to find measure angle B. So we need to go ahead and plug back in to 2x plus 3 what we found for x. So that would be 2 times 26 plus 3, or 55 degrees. Okay? So you just need to remember that your two interior remote angles are equal to your exterior angle, and you need to know how to set up an equation. Okay? Alright, so for this you try number 3, I would like you guys to try this one by yourself, and I'll give you a hint. You want to set this angle equal to the sum of these two angles. Okay, so that should give you a good start. Okay, last theorem you need to learn is called the third angles theorem, and it says that if two angles of one triangle are congruent to two angles of another triangle, then the third pair of angles are congruent. Okay, so what it's saying is that if you have the first two set of angles being congruent, that the third set of angles would also be congruent.